Hey, Beth, it's Scott. I'm calling in.
I wondered who that phone number was.
That is me. I'm traveling, so I don't know that I will have access to my computer and camera, but I'm planning to call in and participate this way if that works.
Yeah, that's great. As long as you can hear us and we can hear you, that's great.
Sounds good.
All right. I see 3 members of the Conservation Commission. Um, so it's 7 o'clock on September 12th, 2024. And I'm calling this meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being recorded. Jan, are you willing to do the minutes again for tonight?
I am.
That's great. Um, you might end up doing it longer than you wanted to. So I know we had, now I'm actually blanking on his name. What was his
Scott
name?
Teachin, or Todd Teachin.
Todd, right? Not Tom. Tom was Todd. I'm letting people in here. Todd went through the whole process. The select board approved him as a new Conservation Commission member, and then he emailed me last weekend that he may be moving out of town or selling his property, so he unfortunately can't be on the commission. So we're back down to 4. So that's the way that goes. Back to the drawing board. And in terms of the land use clerk, I just found out about something today that might be happening where somebody has come forward to potentially be the land use clerk. So I will have more information for that at our next meeting, or even before that, I'll email you guys if it actually becomes official. But that's exciting because we've been getting kind of, I've been just trying to cover all the land use clerk stuff, and we need someone. So that was exciting to hear that. I think those are the only updates. Oh, there's an outreach day being organized by, or the emails came from Susie Mosier. It's October 6th, and I guess it's going to be a sort of a whole town kind of thing. And committees and boards will be given a table. As long as we show up, we'll get a table. It was sort of like we don't have to sign up necessarily and say we're definitely coming, but her email just said if you come, you'll be given a table. So a good opportunity for us to hand out flyers about wetlands protection. And if we're still looking for a new member, just some information on what, this was Jan's idea, some information on what it's like to be on the commission, what it means to be a commissioner. So Jan, are you still interested in going to that on October 6th?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I put it in my calendar, so I think it'd be a good thing to do. Bob, anybody's welcome to come, whoever wants to come. But we can talk more about that at our next meeting.
Do you know where it was going to be held?
I think it's just up at Town Hall. And I'm kind of thinking it might be outside, maybe in the front lawn. I can look back at that email, but yeah, I think it's just right up at Town Hall.
I should be around too, Beth, that day.
Oh, yeah, Scott, yeah. Yeah, you'll be around that weekend?
On the 6th, I'm around. So, yeah, look forward to learning more about the details, but at least I'm in town and around and happy to help and helpful.
Great. Oh, somebody wants in. Um, okay. That's all I had for updates. I've got Jan, you up next to talk about we've done quite a few site visits, I feel like, since our last meeting.
Okay, so we did. It's like a half a dozen, I think. The first one was on August 28th. I went out to the Dudleyville Dam site on Montague Road. What were we doing? I guess we were finishing up. They'd already taken the dam out and they had graded the hills on both sides where the dam walls used to be. They put down topsoil, they seeded it, they put
Mulch,
I don't know what you call it. No, well, they put straw, they put the mats,
yes.
the rolled
um,
mats out, like
yeah.
the carpet, and on the flat parts, they put mulch the next day, and they removed all their equipment by the end of the month. They did everything on time. So the only thing we're waiting for now is to see the grass grow. It's been 2 weeks. Have you been by, Beth?
Just driving back from our site visits today, I look over there and I just wish we would get some rain because
Yeah, we haven't had one storm maybe.
yeah, the grass really hasn't quite sprouted, and it's just because we just haven't gotten any rain in
Yeah,
the
it's
full
probably
2
just
weeks.
sitting there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
they know that, and we'll revisit it in 30 days from the day they finished. We agreed to do that and see what's going on at that point. The
Right.
next one we did was on Sand Hill Road. I went out and looked at the Houston Engage, the conservation site. I guess my job was to confirm there was a stream crossing to the trail. There indeed is a single span bridge with 4 concrete abutments. So I guess that was an order of conditions from the past, from way past, right?
Right, yeah, that's a project that I'm actually bringing to the commission so we can talk about it at 7:15. But yeah, you were just doing the inspection for the certificate of compliance for a project that never got one when it was built back in, I think,
1980 or something.
yeah, 1978
Yeah, well,
or
it's a
80.
nice trail. Except for that part that comes out on the electric line. That was
Mm,
less ideal. Anyway, the next one was on September 8th. We traveled around town with Pam Osowski, all of us, to look at sample locations where she's proposing the removal of knotweed. And our job was to determine whether the sites had commission jurisdiction. In other words, were they near wetlands or not? I don't know what the ratio of the did versus didn't was, but she was going to come back with a draft permit request with a location map and a location of the wetlands and whatever her suggested control methods were. So I guess we're going to wait on that. Also on September 8th, all of us had a look at Mark Whiteman's potential conservation restriction easement. He's got a 14-acre parcel and he wants to, was it 18 or 14? I
14.
think it was 18. Was it 18?
14.
14.
Well, the conservation restriction's 14. So yeah, 18 for the whole parcel.
Right, so 14 for the conservation restriction and 4 for a building site. That was a very pretty area also. He had quite a few of the facts and figures down. It's all pinned and delineated. I guess we're gonna hear from him today. Today, September 12th, we went out with Kestrel Land Trust folks and took a look at the trails and boardwalks there. They've been working on improving the trails a lot, and it's really nice. It looked like everything is pretty much ready to go. They could remove all of the erosion socks that they'd like. The only thing we're gonna do is follow up, take a look at the order of conditions from way back and make sure that they didn't designate trails that they want to leave open as closed and vice versa. So we may have a little more discussion there. And lastly, today, we also viewed a job at 19 South Laurel Drive, where they are looking to remove a couple of hedgerows of arbor vitae, and they wanted to know, what was going to be required, and they will probably get back to us with some plans, having learned that they've got to replace some of those arbor vitae with more plantings, and all of it was pretty much within the buffer zone. So that is it for site visits.
Thank you.
Should I bring up one, or do we do that later?
You can, yes, because we have 5 minutes until our
I talked too
certificate of
fast.
compliance, so.
So we've got one more that we're gonna need to do. I just sent that out this morning. 640 Wendell Road, they're looking for a building permit, and we want to go out and have a look. The dates that are possible would be the 17th, the 24th, or the 26th after work. Those are Tuesdays and Thursdays. Do you have any druthers there?
Let me see. You said the 16th, 17th, or what was the other one?
17th, the 24th, or 26th. They're Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I prefer the 26th, but what does everybody else think?
Scott said he could not come.
Is that a Thursday?
The 26th is a Thursday.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am booked for that day.
Okay.
Do we want to schedule it that day, Beth?
It's really the only day that I could go.
Okay, let's do it.
We got a meeting that day.
Right.
Bob, can you make it to the meeting?
Let me just double check.
Okay.
That is the same time as my Lake Wyola sediment meeting at 7 p.m. on the 26th, Thursday.
So I
Right.
have a request that you request to them that they don't have their meetings on the second or fourth Thursdays of the month. Like, we've always had it those days, so they can go the first or the third Thursday.
Yep, you were there first. I'll respectfully ask them to move it to the first Thursday in October. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Great, thank you. But yeah, I think for that site visit, should we do our usual 3:45? Or
Right.
is that good?
We can do that.
Okay,
I'll tell Russell Greco, the owner.
great. Okay, oh, Penny has her hand up. Penny?
Well, you're talking about site visits, and I've been trying to snag you guys to come to the top of the lake park. So I don't know if you can squeeze that in on October 6th as well, although I got to tell you, I'd really love to have all of you there, because what I'm hoping comes out of our conversation tonight is enough information, that you gather enough information to develop a long-term management strategy for the site. So Anyway,
Should we have, do you want to have the site visit sort of before we start working on the management plan? I suppose we probably want to check it out first.
I would think it makes sense to me that you look at the site before you start thinking about what you would like to see happen there.
Yeah. Let's see.
I can certainly do it another time, but I just, since you were talking about site visits, wanted to jump in on that.
Yep.
So I know the commission is coming, to do a monitoring visit on, I think it's October. What is
The
it?
5th, I think I have it on the 5th.
Yeah, on our, yeah, yes, that's right.
So,
We're just down the road.
yeah. How's October
I
5th
could-
work for folks?
I could do that if we could do it earlier. I have some commitments in the afternoon, but if we can wrap up the site visits in the morning, that would work for me. I can't remember off the top of my head, Penny, what we had for the old orchard, peach orchard. I think that was 10:30. So I don't know if we could do
I think it was
this
earlier
one
than
before
that.
that.
I think it was
Scott-
9:30.
Right, 9:30 for the old orchard.
Oh, 9:30?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah, so-
typically, that takes about an hour. So if I could persuade all of you to scoot up to the top of the lake at 10:30, which will not take long. I would say 15 minutes to a half an hour at the very most.
Works for me.
Works
Okay,
for me.
great, thank you.
Jan, does that work for you?
Yes, where do we go when we're going to top of the lake park?
It's, you know where Merrill Road is?
Yeah. Oh,
It-
we're going to that little island spot?
Where, yes, it's the land where the bridge used to be to the island.
Okay, yep.
And there's a sign there that says top of the lake conservation area, so.
Okay.
There are only 2 parking spots. But there are other places to park fairly nearby.
Bob, are you available on the 5th for those 2 site visits?
I think so. Let me just quickly call up my schedule.
It's a Saturday.
Saturday. And at what time? 10?
9:30 we're starting?
9:30? Okay. That should be good. I'm taking my daughter to a steampunk festival later on that day, but she won't be woken up by then, so that sounds fine.
Wow, what a dad. All right. Is that everything, Penny? Your hand is still up.
Oh, sorry. My hand is lowered.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for jumping in there. We can get all our scheduling done. Okay, it is past 7:15. So we have a certificate of compliance request on Sand Hill Road. It's from the town of Amherst Water Division. I think I'm presenting it. So I will present it, but then I obviously will have to abstain from any discussion or voting or anything on it. The town of Amherst is buying a parcel there where it's 11 acres. It's right on Sand Hill Road. It's actually across the street from the Houston Gage Conservation Area. But when we went to buy the property, of course, we did a title search, and this old order of conditions came up that had never received a certificate of compliance, and it's from, I think it is the early 80s, 1980 or so. And the order of conditions was to build that bridge, the bridge that goes into the Houston Gage Conservation Area. At that point, Houston Gage Conservation Area was owned by the Gage family. And Robert Gage got the order of conditions and he built the bridge. And I think I sent you guys I sent you guys the certificate of compliance request and the old order of conditions, the entire order of conditions. Anyway, so for us to close on the property, we need the certificate of compliance. So that is the request. Discuss among yourselves and vote.
The order of conditions was met, so I motion that we approve this, what are we approving? A certificate of
Certificate of compliance.
compliance.
I'd like to second Janice's motion.
All right. I guess I will call Rowan,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
and Con.
Aye.
Great. Thank you very much. I will get that certificate of compliance and get it recorded. And get the recorded copy into the file. It's funny that the order of conditions number is 286-1, which to me means it was the first order of conditions issued. It's probably not the first order issued by the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. It was probably the first one once DEP gave us the number of 286, is what I'm thinking. But that was kind of crazy. I was really surprised it said 286-1. Interesting. Okay. Next on our agenda is a discussion about the conservation area. Oh, yeah, I was thinking we were doing the CR, but no, we've got Penny up next with the conservation area management. Penny?
Okay, so when I was on the commission way back when, I submitted two projects to the CPC and received funding for them. And I am interested in talking about both briefly, just to make sure you guys are thinking about them. So, and I just wanted to give you an update on the two projects. So we're going to go visit the top of the lake. That project is essentially finished. The stone steps and the stones in the lake bed are there, so it can be used as a canoe launch, kayak launch. We have put in 2 parking spaces. There's signage. A couple of years ago, all of you weighed in on the language on the signs. There's a little native plant garden around a large stone. There's a fence was put in to separate the property from Mr. Carey's property on the east side. And this, well, in the past few months, we've installed a picnic bench. So in that account, there is $360 left. And I don't know if the commission wants to hang on to that. I'm willing to maintain the gardens there and sort of keep an eye on things, but I'm hoping the commission will take over the management of the property. And I have 2 questions for you tonight. One is, do you want to retain that remaining $360 from the CPA? Or do you want to turn that back to the CPA? And you can think about that and decide after we visit the site. And then the other piece of it is, I do have some management concerns. The whole shoreline is a mess of invasive plants, largely glossy buckthorn. There are a number of other things on the site as well. And I'd love to find some way to tackle those, but I defer to you on how to go about that. And then secondly, I'd love to see you issue to the highway department a mowing plan. And we can talk about that more on the site. So those are the issues for that spot. The other project is the South Brook project, which really should be called the Lake Wyola / South Brook Conservation Area. I put in a CPC. A few years ago, we had a consultant come out and map the trails, and I think some of you have been out on the trails. So I initially had wanted to make a trail map for that site, but well, it didn't meet the criteria for the CPC. So what I did was I put in a project that was intended to assess the current trails, see where we might need to make some changes, improvements, and see if there were possibilities to add some new trails, connecting the trails in the Southbrook property to the Lake Wyola property. So there's a document has been created by a former commissioner, Liam Cregan, and I've provided that to Scott Kahn, and I would like to turn that project over to the commission, and there's $1,000 left in there. I know Scott has some ideas about improving some trails. Anyway, I feel like I've been off the commission long enough now that it feels kind of odd to be the carrier of that chunk of money at this point. So I know you guys are swamped, but I also know Scott in particular is interested in the Southbrook property because that's a place he spends a lot of time. So really, this was just an update to let you know there is a little bit of money left and to get you thinking about these two properties again.
Penny, is there a deadline for using CPA funds? I'm on the CPA, I should know these things,
Yeah,
but.
well, I don't know if there is now. I know when those two projects were issued, there was not, and I know the money has been carried over from the fiscal year we finished a few months ago, at least through the next fiscal year. I think the CPC may have voted since then to put a time limit on things, which to me makes a lot of sense. But as far as I know, there is no limit on these, and I know the money is secure for, at least till the end of next June.
And I guess I'm wondering too, if the money is sort of by CPA, if it's designated for a particular use, did you got money, did you say, I'm going to use the money for these particular things? Or can we just hold on to it? Like the $360 for Top of the Lake, can we just hold on to it in case we want to do some invasive treatment down the road? Or do we have to either give the money back or use it by a certain amount of time? Penny. Oh, she wants to get let back in. Oh, she must have gotten out of the meeting somehow.
Sorry, my connection just failed for a minute there. And I don't think I heard all of your question, but I think the gist of it was what can we do with the money based on what the grant was? My understanding, well, the grant was specifically to do what I viewed as phase one, which was research on what should happen with the Southbrook Conservation Area. A management plan was created when it was purchased something like 20 years ago, and it really hasn't been updated. And I've always heard the trails are in bad shape. And I also think it's a great place, and I wanted people in town to know more about it. So I was hoping to end up with a trail map. You could make a trail map, and I think with the $1,000 that's left, the CPC would be okay if you used it to improve some of the existing trails. So
Yeah,
there are some places where Liam recommended putting in some sort of oh, I never can remember the name of those things. They did them at Ames Pond, those
Functions.
yes, that's the word. Yes. And Scott may have some ideas too, because Scott, I think you're fairly familiar with that site. So it would be great to look at that, figure out some things to do and spend that money and close that out.
Yet, I think I was also wondering, the 360 for top of the lake, could we just hold on to it to use it maybe to get rid of invasives at some point, or do we basically either have to give it back to CPA, or use it up within sort of a deadline that there is? I'm just wondering if we can just hold on to it, but maybe that's not.
Well, I will tell you that project has been going on for something like 6 or 7 years. So,
Okay.
you know, I think that would be a good question for you to ask the CPC. It would be nice to hang on to it. You know, there's the maintenance that needs to go on there is not really anything that costs much money. You know, the highway department has helped us put down mulch, and I think they're willing to maintain the parking area. They do the mowing there. I gotta tell you, I don't really love the way they do the mowing, which is why I'd love to see you guys weigh in a little bit on that. So there aren't a lot of expenses. There may be if you decide to approach the invasive plant. So that might be a smart thing to do with that last $300+. So we can talk more when we're on the site. Maybe you'll be inspired.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm glad we have a site day set up to get out there. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know if anyone else has any more questions. No?
No.
No?
Nope. Thank you.
Sure. Well, I will see you guys twice on the 5th, both in our neighborhood and then at up at top of the lake.
Sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Penny.
you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, next on our agenda is, I see Mark is here, the Whiteman CR. So I have it just down as a discussion. I think all of us have, we've all had a couple of days to look through the CR. Mark, is there anything you wanted to add?
Good evening. I spoke with my surveyor actually a few days ago, and he's sure that we put the pins in the exterior areas of the land. So that sort of will take care of some of the concerns Scott had, which were well thought out actually, to make sure that you folks can tell whether or not neighbors are actually encroaching, not just the person living on the parcel or living next to the parcel in the building envelope. The conservation restriction area has mets and bounds in it already, but that has not been pinned. And I would take care of making sure that's pinned as sort of a condition of you folks taking it over. And we could make sure there was some sort of marker that would let you know where those, excuse me, where those pins are, so that you can make sure there's no encroachment by the person building in the building envelope. It's a fairly small job, actually. Now the Mets and bounds are all in place. So I think that gives you what Scott and I were talking back and forth on, is making sure that you could watch all the boundaries to make sure nothing was encroaching. The other thing that he brought up was of interest, and I've sent all these to you guys to make sure you're in the loop, is that we wanted to make sure we knew what was allowed on the property. And I was amazed when I went back and looked at it as to how restrictive it is. No new paths are allowed, things of that fashion. But I questioned this document a little bit. It's a draft. And as you see, there's a bunch of yellow spots, yellow spaces, or areas that have been highlighted. And there are areas that say, you know, take this out if it's not applicable. So I want to talk to the planning board and just make sure that there's no ability for us, you as the holder and myself, to discuss any modifications if it's something we want to do. The one that he had brought up was, do we want to make public access to the property? And I said, I don't feel that's makes sense on this parcel. It's going to be abutting someone's house lot. They're going to be paying taxes on the parcel and still own it. So I think allowing them to have that privacy makes sense. It also allows for things such as hunting. And I was surprised because it's very restrictive as to what you can do in the parcel, but hunting was one of those things that was allowed. And my suggestion was that we could put a sign up or something that says if someone wants access to the parcel, it's at the, it's whether the homeowner wants to allow that or not, and depending upon what that would be for access. So we could have a telephone number to call if someone wanted to access the conservation area. I think in this instance, it makes sense that because it's so restrictive, with no new paths, only maintaining the paths that are there, which I don't think there are any real paths that I can remember on it. It sounds as though it's a parcel that should just be able to stay fallow and let the birds and the animals enjoy it and keep it in that fashion. But that's just my thought process on it. I'm really happy, or was happy to hear Scott's thought. He agreed with that, making sense. And I don't want to speak for him, but it was in that email that I sent you guys. So those are the only two items that came up since we had the walkabout on Sunday. And thank you all for showing up. That was a great crowd.
Yeah, no, that was a good walk around. One tiny little note that, but I agree that it does still look very draft-like. Like there is a I forget where it is, which page is on, where it says you could put, it says put something in here about public access if you want, and it wasn't. I was wondering, I'm like, it's not in there yet, so it's definitely a draft document. Just one small thing I noticed was that under, so it's on page 2 that like there's a baseline documentation report that it's section 1H. I think that actually belongs under the definitions, not in that first section, because that first section is reasons for conserving the land. And then all of a sudden there's this almost definition of BDR, and then the next section is definition. So I think that just needs to be moved down to the definition section. But then, yeah, I was wondering about the hunting question and things like bikes and horses. Those aren't mentioned, but I guess if there's no public access, some of those concerns go away, but.
Yep. And as I said, I'll get a hold of the planning board and discuss this. This is what they had approved. I think this is the state form. As you see, it's Mass DFW/NHESP, MESA, conservation restrictions. So I think it's an all-inclusive form that they're saying, yes, this is the overview, but I've got a feeling that we have the right to, between myself and who's going to hold this, to have these discussions, as to how we can streamline it or modify it so that it works for all parties involved. So let me just get on the next planning board agenda, and then I'll get back to you guys on that.
Okay, Scott, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And Mark, good to hear you, and great to have a chance to visit with you here. I guess a couple thoughts. What Beth said about the report looking still draft, I think that's where I was getting at, where I think it was the same section that she had mentioned about, if you want to allow public access, put it in. It sounds like what you're recommending is not putting that in. I think it is finalizing, the draft that we would be considering and what we would ultimately be voting on. And I think the other part around the baseline document, and I'm not an expert in this area for the state, but I do know it is pretty common to have like a baseline report done where the parcel's inspected. It talks about the condition, that there aren't any, for instance, the areas or the prohibitions of the easement. It would speak to those, like there aren't any trails, there isn't any dumping. It's in condition, the pins for locating the property are in place and in these locations. So it tells the baseline of what we're accepting. So if there is ever any problems down the road, at least we know the condition upon when the easement was, or the conservation restriction were put in place, and when it came to the commission. And so when we're doing our annual inspection, we're comparing it to the report. So I think, getting the question in terms of who would prepare that baseline, and then what the final document would say. And then I think we have the question on ongoing monitoring and how that might be best accomplished if we were to accept that under the responsibility of the commission. But it was a beautiful property.
Yeah, thank you. I've wanted to build up there for a lot of years, and as situations change in one's life, that just isn't something that's going to happen for me. But it's beautiful back there. We didn't get a chance to go. We were sort of looking at the areas that were going to be taken care of by this restriction, and didn't get a chance to look at the areas that are being created as the building envelope. And it really is beautiful back there. We've got a big, huge tree. I don't know what it is. I'm not really good with tree species, but I think it's beautiful. But my logger calls it ugly because it has no economic value. But I keep telling him, leave the darn thing alone. It has to have, I don't know, 30 big, huge branches coming out this huge trunk. It's really cool. I mean, really, really cool. And then there's some really nice areas in there. It has a very slight grade all the way to the back. So it's sloping ever so slightly, south facing, a lot of deciduous tree, so that you're going to have a lot of light getting in there in the wintertime. Just seems like it'd be great for solar. I don't know if the state allows off-grid building at all these days. I haven't kept up with that, but I just thought what a great place, because the length of the driveway could be as long as 825 feet, that somebody could be back there off the grid. And sort of thinking, it's hard when I've been doing this for so long that maybe one more put somebody back there, but that's not going to happen. So I'll find a buyer. I'm sure somebody will come along that suits for, and you guys will be able to make sure they are staying within the lane. And I'm real excited to see if we can make this work.
Great. Does anybody, Bob?
Yeah, hi, good evening. Good to see you again, Mark.
Hey, Rob.
One thing that different land trusts that I've worked with do, when they take on a restriction, there'll be a small fee that's accepted as well. And just in case the commission can't do the site walk or the yearly assessment, there's a funding of which that can come out of. Now, I just asked a friend in the Harvard Conservation Trust, and he said it was $5,000 that they collect as far as a management fee for the conservation restriction. So just wanted to put that on the table for consideration or discussion.
So like a retainer?
Yeah, like a retainer, like a and I don't know how it would be dealt with at town hall, but maybe something kind of like a bond or some account that could be taken out of if necessary, for the purposes solely of confirming the boundary on a yearly or whatever scheduled inspection time period.
And you make a good point. There should be something there that so you don't have to go begging the landowner every time to try and get paid, I suppose, instead of just sending a bill. I wouldn't have a problem with that. We can discuss what the amount is. Harvard's got a more elite status than we do, I think, but somewhere that makes sense dollar wise. The other is that you're mentioning bringing somebody else in to do the work and then making sure they're going to get paid. And of course, that would make them feel a lot better knowing the money's there. But I also think even if the board is doing this, there should be some sort of recompense that is going toward the board where you could use that money for whatever else you're using for the future. As you say, taking away invasives or something, maybe having a general fund for the Conservation Commission for other work that can be done. It's not huge money, but it would be a step to maybe getting you to want to do more of these, because you would have money coming in, modest amounts of money coming in to be able to do other small things that are important to you. So I like the idea actually of having a retainer, and I'm calling it a retainer, whatever the bond or whatever it might be. Discuss what the amount should be, and maybe it's it has to be refunded after it gets to a certain amount, and then making sure that the board is is being paid for their time of going out there instead of just being paid if there's an outside company being brought in, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think if we ended up doing inspections, we couldn't pay ourselves, but if we needed to do some kind of invasive treatment, or if there was something that needed to be done, I thought I saw in there the taking down of hazard trees, you know, say
Yeah.
a tree that's right near the boundary, a neighbor says that tree's got to come down, it's going to hit my electric wire, and then the cost to get the tree down falls on us, although it would probably fall on the homeowner, but
I think
would probably fall on the owner of the property, but there might still be some fees that something we'd want to spend the money on.
and when you say can't pay us, you don't mean individually, you mean you can't pay the Conservation Commission, you think? Well, but you collect fees for other things.
Yeah, but we use them, it's for things like for mailings, you know, the fees that come in are for administrative expenses.
I see. I'm
Mostly.
thinking of other boards, I guess, and they collect a fee for almost everything, you know, so I thought it might be a legitimate way to be able to put some money into the conservation coffers, but it doesn't sound like they allow you to do that.
Well, we kind of have different funds, like if you were to put money in for this particular conservation area, it would get set aside just for that.
Yeah, right.
You know, and the fees we charge for applications, I should say, is the money that is used for all administrative purposes.
I follow you. So any way that it works for you folks, it works for you folks, is fine with me. I think the idea of a bond or a retainer, you know, I mean, a bond means that there'd be, it's another step in it. I think it's just easier if it's a check written to something you guys put in some sort of escrow account. And then the money is actually there with a pre-understanding of what the expenses are, you know, that could be, you know, if you're going to bring somebody in, it's $180 or, you know, whatever the fees may be for doing the work, so that we have an idea as to how long that money will exist and last. Just a thought.
Yeah, I can talk to town hall about, you know, setting up the account, but then also, I can get a couple quotes from some folks that do those.
Yeah.
Do the CR monitoring inspections.
So I'll get the planning board on the planning board agenda to find out what their thoughts are on this drafting or this draft we have and getting it finalized and how much input we can have in that. And I'll get the surveyor out there to put the stakes in for the for the building envelope. And while he's out there, I'll have him flag the boundaries of the conservation restricted area where it abuts other neighbors' properties, so that you'll have flags there to show. Maybe we can put some sort of more permanent, like stake in or something, you know, so that you have something, won't be 3 years down the road, the ribbons are gone. And that should put it in pretty good stead that way. And then we'll just meet again and discuss if we have the ability to finish this a draft and make it a finalized document, then we can do that together and then see where we go from there.
That sounds great. Yeah, that'd be great if you can get that stuff done and then just get in touch about getting on another agenda. That sounds great.
Excellent. If anybody has any questions in the meantime, in between this and the next meeting, just send me an email, and I guess just make sure we copy everybody so that we're all on the same page.
Sounds good. Scott, did you have anything else to say?
No, I think that sounds great. Path forward, maybe one clarification would be on, as you're finalizing the draft document, I do think the baseline report part of it, I'm still a little unsure in terms of what that would consist of. I've seen other baseline reports for conservation easements, but I didn't see anything in what you sent me in terms of what that would actually be. If that's to be an attachment, maybe we could give some thought to how that could be prepared and by whom.
Yeah, I think, I'm reading it here, and it's not real specific, obviously, natural other uses, physical features, improvements, trails as they relate to the prohibited and permitted uses. Consists of maps, narratives, survey and plans, and aerial ground photographs. It just sounds as though we're going to go in there and make an inventory of anything that's already existing there, like a farm dump, which I have no knowledge of. I know I brought that one up, but anything of that fashion that might be there. We talked about already that I have no knowledge and don't believe there's any neighbors that are encroaching. And then anything that would, I guess, be negative or against the conservation restriction, putting that down that it already exists. I say negative, but anti the conservation restriction. So if there was a path there, which is already allowed, we should document where the path goes. If there was a woods road, I know there's an old woods road that was supposed to be on back, like I've never been able to find. But if there was the markings of a woods road or something, we should show that so that we know those exist prior. And you know then that if there's a new path or a path that's not on that list, then it was made after the fact and shouldn't be there. So I think we just do a little more research on that. I can talk to the planning board also about what other people have done with this. They've only had 2, I think, open space permits approved, but we can talk to them about how those people handled this document as well. That sounds good.
Perfect. What you described is exactly what I was thinking as well. And I think the question then is, you know, is there a standard form for that here that in health, and who is best suited to do that? I should have that be prepared as part of the restriction, but what you laid out sounds spot on to me.
That sounds great. All right, we'll see you guys soon. I'll keep you up to date as to what I find out from the surveyor and when they go out and do the survey work and the rest of the information. I'll let you know when I'm on with the planning board. You might want to watch the meeting, and we'll go from there.
Great. All right. Sounds good. Thank you,
Thanks for your
Mark.
help. We'll see you later.
Good night. All right. I think we missed voting on minutes. We have a set of minutes from August 22nd that Jan sent around. That was just our last meeting. So thanks, Jan, for putting those all together. Does anybody have any comments or changes to the minutes? Nope. All right, so looking for a motion to approve the August 22nd, 2024 minutes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as drafted.
Second.
I second.
I'll second.
There you go.
All right. Con,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Rowan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. Great. I'm actually going to work this week on taking a bunch of minutes that I think we have approved. They just never got sort of the approval date put on them. And then once I get the approval date on and kind of finalize them, then I just need to send them to the clerk and she can post them on our webpage. So right now, if you go to our webpage, the most recent minutes is I think in May or something. So I'm going to try and do that this week.
So I'll update this 8/22 one.
Yeah, put on the top
I'll
of it
put
that it got
after.
approved tonight.
Okay.
That'd be great. And then, yeah, send it to me and I'll add it to the others. Okay, I have no other business tonight. Does anybody have anything? Nope. All right.
I just wanted to share that I did get a chance to take a walk with the sedimentation control, sedimentation Lake Wyola group today, and we had a great chance to look at several different areas, accompanied by a town DPW person, and it was very valuable. And I'll have future reports for you.
Great. These are areas where you guys are thinking of like getting grant money or something to do something with.
Yeah, I think we're at the end. That may well be true. FERCog has a page and a half of different grants that might apply to our situation, but I think we're just in the very early stages of information gathering.
Good. Thank you for doing that.
Yep.
I think it's great. All right, motion to adjourn.
Do we want public comments?
Public comments. Do we have any public comments? Nope. So our next, do we have, I should look, do we have a site visit before our next meeting? What do we have? Just looking.
Yeah, we have Russell Greco on September 26th.
Okay, so that's the day of our next meeting.
Yep.
Good. Okay, sounds good. Just catching up. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'd
So
like to make a
motion-
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Who did the
Second.
motion?
We'll give the motion to Bob. Second.
I'll second.
All right, Rowan,
Aye.
Douglas,
Hey,
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. All right, this was a quick one. Yay, it's only 8 o'clock. Woo!
great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
You.
All right, I figured I'll log out of this.